Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd family part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. Today's video is one of those videos where I actually am encouraging everybody to comment down below in the comment section and tell me your thoughts on it, because it makes it so much better when you put out videos and ask for feedback and you actually get feedback, and not just feedback about anything, but feedback about the actual video, because I am genuinely curious at what everybody thinks, because it's the topic that's been going around forever in the world of college football, and that is expansion. Now, if you follow the channel, you know that I've said from the get-go that expanding playoffs is a terrible idea. You're just watering down the regular season, and you're allowing the blue blood programs to go 8-4 and still make the playoffs because they're a blue blood program. And what's always made college football so unique and so different is that the regular season means something. It's the only sport that if you lose a game, your season's pretty much over with. If you lose 2 games, it is over with. But now the 12-team playoff, that's no longer the case. But I feel the same way about overall expansion with the conferences. Expanding the conferences is bad for the sport. It just shows that they're now all about money, because you're seeing the rivalries slowly but surely die, and you're going to be seeing teams travel from the East Coast to the West Coast and vice versa, and it's just dumb. It shows that actually academics doesn't mean anything. It's about what you do on the field. You look now at Georgia. They had 2 people, I believe, lose their life a couple years ago with Georgia football players street racing, and 25 times since that's happened, they've been in trouble, in jail, for street racing. So even somebody losing their life didn't mean diddly squat. Why? Because Georgia wins. As long as you win, nobody cares what you do. The last time it happened, both players combined, their bail was $26. Now, nobody's learning a lesson when they're not dismissed off the football team. They're not suspended from the football team. And their jail time is minimum, and it's $26 to get out. You're not learning lessons, but guess what? Nobody cares because you're winning. And this expansion thing now continues to be talked about over and over and over again, and now it's Clemson and Florida State all over again, which they've been talked about now for a while. And they're both trying to leave the ACC, which I think they're trying to leave the ACC in a package deal so they can continue their football rivalry, hopefully, is what they're wanting to do. But I think both teams are afraid and scared that the ACC is eventually going to fold, and if they wait too long, when the conference folds, you're left out in the cold. But now there's talk again about both teams going to the Big 12. Now, is it going to happen? I don't think it is, but I could be wrong. I just find it kind of fitting and kind of ironic that for the last 6 months it's been either both teams are going to the Big 10 or both teams are going to the SEC, and now all of a sudden Big 12 starts their media days, and now all of a sudden those 2 teams are going to the Big 12. I think it's happened because the Big 12 is afraid that they're going to be asked, numerous questions about losing Oklahoma, losing Texas. Which team is now carrying the banner of being the flagship football team in the conference since you lost Oklahoma and Texas. In order to avoid those questions, I think all of a sudden, oh, we're getting Florida State and Clemson. It just doesn't make sense to me because, to me, leaving the ACC and going to the Big 12 is a lateral move. I mean, it's not backwards, but it's not forward. It's a lateral move. And if you're going to make a lateral move, why not just stay where you are? Now, Greg Sankey came out, I believe, on Monday of this week and said the SEC is not expanding. If you put any stock into that sentence, you're the stupid one, because the last time they expanded, he said, we're not expanding. The time before that, when they expanded, he said, we're not expanding. So if you actually think Greg Sankey is being serious when he says that, you're the foolish one. That doesn't mean anything. But the thing I find hard to believe out of all of it is when Texas was in the Big 12, every other team in the conference got mad because Texas was making more money from the Big 12 than any other team was. And every other team said it's not fair that we're in the same conference that Texas is, but they're making bukus and bukus of money, and we're not. We should all be treated the same. We should all be treated fairly. We should all make the same amount of money. Well, now, supposedly, apparently, if you believe everything that's being said, the Big 12 has come out and said if Clemson and Florida State join, they'll make more money than every other team in the conference. Well, I can see them saying that because instantly, if one or both of those teams were to join the Big 12, they would automatically become the favorites to win the conference every year. So I can see the Big 12 saying that. But if every other team in the conference didn't like Texas making more money, and now they're glad that all the teams make the same amount of money, why would they all of a sudden be okay with Florida State and Clemson making more money if they weren't okay with Texas making more money? That just doesn't make sense to me. But now, if by some chance the SEC turns down both teams and the Big Ten turns down both teams and it's Big 12 or the ACC, they might go to the Big 12. But I can promise you, back at the beginning of the year when the rumor first came out that Florida State and Clemson both wanted to leave the ACC, that they weren't leaving the ACC to go to the Big 12. When they said they wanted out of the conference, it was either the Big Ten or the SEC. Now, I've said on here many a times that I wish Clemson would stay in the ACC. I'm fine with Clemson being in the ACC. To me, it makes more sense playing Virginia and Duke and Florida State and North Carolina and Wake Forest and NC State and Georgia Tech. All the teams that are in driving distance to you makes so much more sense than playing a team in Oklahoma or Ohio or Michigan, any place like that. But if they are going to leave, I would rather them go to the Big Ten, only because they play South Carolina every year. This year will be, I believe, the fourth time or third time they've played Georgia in the last 10 years. They just recently played LSU in a bowl game. They've recently played Tennessee in a bowl game. They've had a couple home and homes with Auburn. They've played Alabama 4 times in the playoffs in the last 7 or 8 years. So really, for the most part, outside of maybe Florida, Clemson's played every big-time team in the SEC in the last decade. And outside of playing Ohio State, I couldn't tell you the last time, if ever, that they've played Michigan or Iowa or Penn State. So I would rather them go to the Big Ten just so I can see them play new teams. Going to the SEC, you're playing the same teams I've seen you play over and over and over again. So it's nothing new. If I've got to put up with my team changing their conference, I would rather them go to a conference where they're going to play a team that either they've never played or they haven't played in a long, long time. But I'm fine with them being in the ACC. And me personally, if it comes down to the ACC or the Big 12, if I'm at Florida State or Clemson, I'm going to stay in the ACC. I just don't think going to the Big 12 is a step forward. To me, it's a lateral move. And if you're going to make a lateral move, you might as well stay where you are, especially with all the money they've got to fork out if they decide to leave. For a lateral move, just stay where you are. But I just want to know if anybody thinks either team will leave, or will both teams leave? And if both teams do leave, will both teams go to one conference, or will you see Clemson go to one conference and Florida State go to another conference? They want to go in a package deal, and I'm pretty sure it's because they want to continue playing their football rivalry, because most years the Florida State Clemson game is generally down to the wire. Now, years and years and years ago, when Florida State had Bobby Bowden, they destroyed Clemson every year. The games were over with before the first quarter ended. But now, the last decade or so, just about every game is a fourth quarter game. So I can see why they would want to continue that rivalry. I haven't heard that's the reason, but my guess is that's the reason. I don't see any other reason why you would want to go in a package deal outside of wanting to continue the football rivalry that you have. But again, any thoughts on this, please feel free to let me know. Hard to believe that college football is just a little over a month away, or as I call it, minor league football. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. I dreamt that I was making a salad while driving in a roundabout. I tossed and turned all night. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.